Well, thank you so much, Deb, for doing this with me. I cannot believe that I get to like see your face and like I could like reach through the screen and tickle you.
I
You spread
specifically
so
like
much joy.
position like my computer like in a more scenic part of like my room because normally where I do like all of my computer stuff, it's just like a blank wall. I'm just like, no, 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 this isn't gonna do. So I like moved around a bunch of stuff. I'm like, no, no, I'm like right beside my tea table and everything. So yeah, lots of inspiration here. So yeah.
I love it. It looks beautiful. I am in a different area than I normally am. I'm in the midst of changing things, so that's why it's a little
Yeah,
wonky in the back for me, but I'm hoping to have a wonderful space again. So,
yeah.
yeah. So, Deb, can you tell everybody like who is Deb?
Oh, okay. Let's see here. Okay, so we don't have 3 hours here. So, okay. So I guess I should just like divide this up into like both like me personally and also the business as well. So I'm Deb and I was born and raised here in Canada, went to school here, started a business here as well. And I am in my mid 30s. So if we're doing a bit of like, biographical, like, fun stuff, I'm in my mid 30s. I'm 35. I'm a Leo, was born in August. So I'm a summer baby. Favorite things, my favorite colors, pink, green, and yellow. So bubbly stuff. I love to eat. Not just sweet stuff too. I mean, like I know that the business is really based around desserts and everything, and obviously tea. But I love food, and that's actually where a lot of inspiration comes for me from culinary and from food and from just really enjoying learning about food, eating it, eating with friends, everything like that. So food has actually been a huge part of my life, both professionally and personally, as a personal love and as a professional journey as well through, part-time work and even what I'm doing right now. So I love to eat. I'm a huge bookworm, so I love to read. Like I'm constantly posting about books on like my Instagram. I'm constantly yapping about like, my favorite books, my favorite series. So reading and books are huge. And not, I wouldn't even say a pastime. It's just a huge love for me. Outside of tea and afternoon tea, books are just my go-to. I would rather sit and read than do a lot of things. Like, I like being social and being outside and everything, but as something that is really special to me because reading is just one of those things where it's just an instant pick me up. I think that a lot of people have activities that are kind of like their go-to, whether it's working out or cooking or just art, anything like that. So reading and books are just it's a personal go-to for me. So basically, in a nutshell, Deb is a tea lover, a bookworm, loves to eat, loves to laugh. Like I'm not a huge TV watcher, but then once I get really, really into, a TV series and things like that, I love comedy. I love watching sports. Something that a lot of people don't know about me is that I'm really, really into wrestling. Not like Olympic wrestling or anything like that, but like TV wrestling, like WWE, that kind of thing. I
Oh
watch
my gosh.
sports with my brother. We watch like pro sports. We follow basketball, hockey, baseball. So I'm a huge sports nerd as well. So that's something that I don't talk about too often simply because not because I don't love it, but because sometimes you just need like a segue to kind of like talk about things. And there just hasn't been kind of like a space to talk about that kind of stuff like on my Instagram really. So I'm a huge sports lover. What else? So I guess it's kind of like a bit of a Deb 101 in terms of like, my favorite things. And in terms of the business, I have been, I suppose you could say, an entrepreneur now since I want to say since 2010. And that was kind of where everything kind of started. First, I was a blogger. I was a food blogger, and I did that part time while I was in grad school. And through that, because I was food blogging since 2010, I was blogging about tea as well. And then so that's kind of where a lot of the exploration and getting to know a lot of tea shops, a lot of tea businesses that's kind of where a lot of that started. And then so since 2010, a lot of different entrepreneurial ventures kind of happened through blogging. I had another business in 2016. It was called the Sugar Teacup, and that was more of a subscription box based company. Not totally unlike something that I'm doing right now with Dessert by Deb with the tea and sweet subscription. But my old business was purely just a subscription box based business. And so Dessert by Deb formed in 2019. And yeah, we're here now. So it's been a long, like, circular kind of like journey, but there's been a lot of twists and turns. And I feel like every single passion of mine has kind of collided with this business, and it's just been amazing to kind of just see it unfold over time. So yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell in like 5 minutes or so.
I have so many questions. Okay, so first up, my nephew is like a huge, huge WWE fan. And like, so I feel like you guys would be like so connected. Like he's like huge into it.
Yeah.
And I remember like growing up with like what was the names like Jake the Snake and like all
My
of those like
it's really really crazy because when I was younger, I used to watch like all of like the really like I suppose you could say vintage wrestlers, the wrestlers who actually aren't even around anymore, the ones who passed away and who aren't even with us anymore. And I know like Hulk Hogan, he's still here, but I was watching like for example like Mr. Perfect and Macho Man and Ultimate Warrior, and they're not here with us anymore, and they're just like they're part of my childhood. And it's kind of crazy to think that 5-year-old Deb is watching like wrestling, but it was just kind of like fun and like kind of this like fairy tale kind of world, because in the back of my head, even as a 5-year-old, I always kind of knew that it wasn't completely real. No, this person is not literally like punching this person in the face. It was all kind of a made up show. So to my 5-year-old mind, it was just kind of for fun. And then when my brother started watching it, that's when we got into a different era of wrestling with like The Rock and Stone Cold. And my personal favorite is Undertaker. So he is hands down my favorite wrestler. He's been around for so long, and yeah, like everybody's got their favorite. Like my mom, well, actually, we all love The Rock, but like everybody's got their favorite. So this
yeah.
is so cool that I actually get to talk about this.
It's so amazing. I just remember like growing up, I had two older brothers, and yeah, their wrestling was always there. And I remember, like you were saying, it was made up. And I remember being like, is this made up? I was like such a gullible kid. I was like, what is happening? Like, where did the chairs come from? Like, that was where
Yeah,
my mind always went. Like, I was like,
yeah,
how did that table get there?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it was just it was something that my brother and I, we just always really really enjoyed. As we've grown older, we haven't been able to follow it as much, just because life, right? It's one of those things where I feel like sometimes it gets harder and harder to kind of like follow certain things. And I guess that's where things like PVR comes in, and watching things on demand. It's like sometimes you're not really able to be in that space to actually watch things at 8 o'clock in the evening when it's actually on. And it's so crazy to think about our upbringing, where we used to tape things on our VCR, or actually tune into something if something was at 7 o'clock in the evening. It's just like, oh, screw homework, we're watching this, right? But now it's like it's sometimes it's even difficult just to even carve out that half hour out of your day, because everything is moving so fast, and people are constantly on their phones, their tablets, all of these devices and everything, and you kind of miss that kind of nostalgic kind of way of life. But I think that sometimes it's kind of fun to kind of like mix the two. Like I'm still really old school. A lot of people, to go back to me being like a super bookworm and everything, a lot of people use e-readers and Kobo, things like that. I read like actual books. Like I don't have an e-reader, I don't have a tablet for it. I'm like, no, hardcover, like actual books, like all the way. So in many ways, it's kind of ironic because, running a e-commerce business, and yet, I don't do a lot of the techie stuff that is kind of, I suppose, expected of our generation. It's like, no, I have actual books I refuse to read off of a screen. And yet here I am running a business, like, through the internet and everything, right? So I think that it just kind of touches certain parts of your life, and certain parts of your life you really want to keep the nostalgic kind of feeling, I guess, alive. And other parts you kind of just go with the flow while technology is kind of flourishing, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
But that's the wonderful thing about your business is that yes, it's on the internet and it allows so many more people to enjoy it, but we end up getting that physical goods and those wonderful things come
Yeah,
to us. So it's like that wonderful mix, and I love that. Yeah.
yeah.
So talking about your business, so you're full time at it now, right?
I am. Yep.
I'm
Yep. I,
so
I feel like
excited.
sometimes 24/7, and it's just one of those things where it's a balancing act. And I know that um there are going to be days where it's going to feel a lot more 24/7, and other days where it's a little slower pace. So it's just, it's kind of like, the ups and downs of it. So yeah, but yeah, full time right now. Yeah.
So with your blends, I find that so fascinating because I mean they are exceptionally delicious.
Thank
Like
you.
I'm always like you're like the dessert tea queen of Canada. Like, everybody should just go get your stuff. Um, so how does that happen? Like, do you actually like mix it? Does somebody else mix it for you? Like, can you tell us a little bit about the behind the scenes and how that all works?
Yeah, so basically when I create my blends, um, I get inspiration from everywhere. So if I could kind of like go from like, step one through like step five, from the creation right to the physical product. So what I do is that normally I always have basically on my phone, or actually I have both. I have a running list on my phone and also a journal and a notebook that I start to basically brainstorm and jot down ideas for teas that I would love to see as like, actual dessert blends. Sometimes they're just kind of lofty ideas that kind of make sense in my mind, but once I actually put it together, it doesn't really work out in execution. But this is kind of my way of having like a brain dump to at least have all of my ideas out on paper or on my phone, so that throughout the year or throughout the seasons, once it's time to do something, for example, spring like or fall like or something for holly, I've got those ideas to kind of like go to as time goes on. So I always start off just constantly brainstorming. And I do this almost, I feel like I brainstorm almost every day because inspiration strikes anytime, anywhere. And so I'll be even inspired by something that I'll see in the grocery store. I'll be in like the cookie aisle in the grocery store, and I'll see something like, that looks and sounds delicious, and I'll think, can I actually turn this into a tea blend? So that's kind of where like point A starts. It all kind of starts with just an idea, and then point B, which would be, step two, would be me kind of crafting a recipe. So this is where I start to think, okay, what kind of tea base do I want this to be? Do I want this to be a black tea base, a green, a rooibos, and herbal? Kind of, working it out and thinking in my head, okay, what would the execution of it actually be like? And then I start to develop a recipe. And so I actually learned how to develop tea recipes from an old mentor of mine. And he actually taught me how to create tea recipes from scratch using percentages and ratios and breaking it down into learning how to work with volumes, things like that. Because it's sometimes it can actually be very, very intricate. 1 or 2% can kind of change the profile of an entire tea blend. And also just working with different volumes. And when I say volumes, it's kind of like, when you're working with something that's super fluffy, for example, like lavender or rose petals, some of those are very strong in their taste. So you don't actually need a lot of it. But then if you put too much, then basically, even something like 10% of lavender in a blend can end up being almost like a fluff ball in your entire tea blend. So it's this very delicate balancing act of mixing percentages, volumes, weights, ratios, things like that. And then that's when I take the idea and then turn it into a recipe. And then once I kind of craft a recipe out of it, kind of based on, okay, what do I want this to taste like? Do I want this to be, fruitier or creamier, or do I want this to be really sour and tart? What kind of profile am I really looking for? Because you can go 15 million different ways with just one ingredient. It's like I love being able to experiment with things like, Earl Grey, and being like, you know what, I could create 20 different Earl Grey recipes, because that's how versatile it is. And so I kind of have in my mind, okay, what direction do I kind of want to take this ingredient, or tea base, things like that. So step three then would actually be then crafting it. So I've got all of my ingredients and teas, and so that's when I would do a test batch. And typically speaking, a test batch would be about a 50-gram sample, because that's enough to really, like, test it multiple ways. I like to do it multiple ways simply because sometimes I'll have customers ask me, how do you like to have it? And then if something is actually better as a latte, I'll tell somebody honestly, instead of having it straight, make it as a latte or have it with milk, something like that, right? Or yeah, just whenever people have questions for me as to how I prefer to prepare and steep it, that way I know what to recommend people. So a 50-gram sample is good enough for, testing with milk and then testing it straight, testing it cold, all of the different ways. That way you kind of know, I guess, which way, one, you would recommend it to people, and two, if it's actually versatile enough to actually, launch into the internet, to actually sell to people. So once step three is done, which is the actual crafting of the recipe, then it's the tasting part. And then that's where, then I start to taste it as, either a latte or straight, things like that. And then if I'm happy with it, good to go. And then that's when I get all of the packaging done. I type it up on, my computer, send it off, and, get the product out there, do the photography, everything like that. And then if I'm not happy with it, I basically go back and then start to revise the recipe and then repeat the process from there. And there have been recipes that have taken multiple tries. And then there have also been ones where it's been awesome. It's been one try and I'm happy with it. And then there are the ones where I'm not too happy with it, but I can see it working. It just needs a little work later on. And then so I have a bunch of ideas where I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to revisit this later, because I find that sometimes if you overthink things, or if you're just pushing too hard, it's just not going to work. And then other times, exactly where you need to make your tweak, and you're like, okay, I'm good. After I make this tweak, it's ready to go. And other times, it needs a little massaging, and you just want to revisit it at a later time when you're not so much up in your head, and when you can, think a little more clearly, and you're not so anxious about, just releasing a product. So that's, I know for myself when I'm doing something naturally versus when I'm pushing to actually make something work, when I know that it really can't. So that's kind of like the process that I go through for every single tea blend. And like I said, sometimes, magic happens on the first try, and other times it takes like 5 tries. And once I get the final product, I'm like, yay! It's like, hallelujah, right? It actually worked. So, I try not to get too hard on myself, because there are certain ideas of mine that sometimes, like, they're even a little wacky to me, but I like being able to really just have fun with being creative, because otherwise, what's the point of doing it if I'm, confining myself into, a little box where I'm only able to work with certain ingredients or combinations, things like that. I'll come up with really wacky ideas that I haven't tested yet, but I just want to be able to see if they work. And if they do, great. If they don't, it's a learning experience, right? Then I can go back and say, okay, clearly this didn't work, right? And just don't revisit it ever again, because it sucks and it doesn't taste good. So everything is a learning experience. So yeah.
I love that. So I am envisioning you with like your little baking cap on and
Yeah.
like literally like you're really doing it. Are you really like packaging everything? Is it
Yeah.
you?
Yes, everything is me from the creation to mixing to packing. Yeah, one woman show. I mean, with the exception of like people who, for example, like I have my acrylic pins and other products. Like I've got my suppliers, like I'll do the artwork and I'll send it off to my suppliers to kind of get it actually produced for me. But all of the actual tea, yep, I've got like shelves of ingredients, shelves of tea. I've got my mixing bowls, I've got my scoops, I've got my scale, every last thing. Like there's a lot of equipment that I work with. I've got like a sifter if I've got to work with like things like cocoa powder, things like that to get out any lumps. Just a lot of tools. Yeah, just everything under the sun. So and I've got everything kind of just organized so that it's easy for me to like grab bins and quickly mix things up or pack. So I've got a space that I'm working in right now where I'm able to do all of that kind of like freely and yeah at my own pace. So yeah,
That is amazing. That is completely amazing. So, oh, there goes my brain. I'm so sorry.
don't worry, not at all.
This just happens. It's just like it just all floats away. So yeah. Um, nope, totally gone. I'm so
That's
sorry.
okay. We can talk about anything. We can yeah, we can talk about anything. We can pick up exactly where you left off once it like comes to you, and then we can talk about other
Okay.
stuff.
What is your favorite blend that you've ever created?
Oh my gosh. Sometimes I'll ask myself that question because it's always changing. And I find that it changes throughout the year simply because sometimes you're just in a certain mood for certain things. So it's going to be really, really hard just to choose one. So what I will do is that I will choose. Okay, I'll do three. I'll do
Okay.
actually kind of like the tea together Tuesday, where I think that last week was three favorite teas and everything. So I know that I had commented on Tori's post, but I feel like every single week it kind of like changes. But there's definitely ones where they're just I could drink them all day long and they're just really close to my heart because every blend kind of has a backstory and kind of its inspiration point as to why I created it or maybe who I had it in mind when I created it. So every blend is kind of special. But if I had to narrow it down to three, I would definitely say that one of them would be the lemongrass milk pudding. I love that one so much. Um, Lemon sugar bun cake, which I had yesterday. I have it with milk, and I'm just like holding my mug, and I'm just like squeeing like inside because it just makes me so happy. It's one of those buns that I just love more and more every single time that I drink it. And then a third one, oh gosh, okay. Okay, I'll choose one from the newest collection. I have one called Golden Pear Sunshine. I can drink that like all day, all night, and it just makes me so happy. It literally is like sunshine in a cup simply because it steeps this like gorgeous like gold color. So it's like a sunrise and or even a sunset if you want to think of it that way. But yeah, it's beautiful steeped. It warms me up from like head to toe, and I love it. So I love things that just kind of make me feel really warm and really comforted. I find that a lot of the things that either I create for myself kind of like fall in that category. And when I create for other people, or rather with other people in mind, not that I don't love them. Obviously, every single blend that I create, if I didn't like it, I wouldn't release it, right? In my personal opinion, it's got to go through me first in order to actually get onto into the shop onto the internet. But every single thing that I create, there's kind of like a spectrum. So there's the stuff that I really really love, the stuff that I'm just like, yeah, I like it, and then the stuff where I'm just like, okay, I really just created it with somebody else in mind, and it's not really for me, but I like it and I'll drink it, but just not every day. So I think
Right.
we feel that way about a lot of tea blends. I think that we could probably, not that ranking our favorites is easy, but there's gotta be always like favorites that we have that we just kind of go to. I wouldn't even say every day, but the ones where it's just like if people were to ask us, what are our favorites, we can easily list them, but it's just a matter of, okay, top 5 or top 10, right? Because we've got so many that we love. And I feel that way about a lot of the ones that I create because they have sentimental value to me as well. So, yeah.
That's wonderful. So you not only have your collections, which I absolutely love for multiple reasons. Not only do they taste good and they're very affordable, but the fact that you can get them at 25 grams, I love that. It's just brilliant.
When
But
when I first started, like I knew that a lot of people would like to have it that way simply because I think that when me being on the back end, I'm just like, well, I'm a customer and a consumer myself, having drank and bought tea for the better part of the last over a decade, and I knew that other people, love, when you're going to actually get like Happy Mail, like in the mail, it's not that getting one item isn't fun because mail is mail, but I know that when people get a parcel, it's extra exciting being like, I got 10 things to unwrap right now, or I got 10 things to kind of like sniff and smell. It's exciting and it's fun. And it's how you feel about Christmas gifts, right? It's like, ooh, stuff.
exactly.
Yeah, so yeah, that was the reason why the 25 grams. I'm just like, no, I gotta do it. I know how people feel. So yeah.
I love it. I love it. So, can we talk a little bit about your subscription club and like how it goes? And do you want to explain to everybody all about it?
Yeah, so the subscription is something that I wanted to kind of keep as part of my business. So in 2016, when I launched my old business called the Sugar Teacup, it was a tea subscription box, but the idea behind that business was that it was focused on everything local. So all local Toronto, like tea shops and everything like that. And I would kind of curate and kind of put together tea boxes each and every single month with kind of a different theme. And so when I packed up that business and started Dessert by Deb, I knew that a lot of people, my older customers, they really enjoyed this subscription box. And so I thought, okay, well, instead, this is going to be a Dessert by Deb one. So it was going to be all of my own tea blends, all of my own accessories. And I still wanted to keep that kind of local aspect kind of alive in this subscription box. So I thought, okay, I'm going to incorporate a dessert element because obviously, the business being devoted to desserts, I wanted to have sweets as part of the box. So it's basically two worlds colliding, like tea and dessert in one box. So with every box that you get, the subscription itself is bi-monthly. So you get 6 boxes in a year, and it just follows basically, the calendar months. So January, February would be one box, March, April, May, June. It kind of goes along like that. So a 1 year subscription has 6 boxes, and every single box has 3 different teas. 2 of them are exclusives that are not available on the website. I create them specifically for subscribers. And the third tea is something seasonal. So, for example, the French collection is the newest one. So the third tea would be, one of the ones from the newest collection, or just something that I know that my subscriber hasn't tried yet. There are times when I have subscribers who order everything, and I'm like, okay, maybe I should create a third one just for the ones who have ordered everything, just so I'm not duplicating with certain subscribers. But essentially, that's how it works. You get 3 teas in the 25-gram pouches. 2 of them are exclusives. You get 2 to 3 sweets and desserts. And so I kind of switch them up because I don't want people to kind of get the exact same type of sweet in every single box. So over the course of the past year, I've had chocolates, I've had cookies, also I've had gummies, just different kinds of desserts and sweets, just kind of like mix it up as well. And also the other item would be a special accessory that would be something I wouldn't say exclusive to the box, but I will say that a lot of the times I will put in the subscription box something that is basically for the subscribers to get first look. So the subscribers got first look at the acrylic pins in the September October box before I actually launched the product with the holiday collection. So they were the first ones to see the product before anybody else. And so they're either products that I want to give them first look, or just things that I want to just create just for them. So there was actually a cork coaster last summer that I created just for my subscribers, and it was never launched on the website. It was just for them. I have the coasters on my site now, but they're a different design. There'll be different designs moving forward. So it's either or. It's either something, an accessory or a product that I just want to give to them exclusively, or something that they get first look and it'll be released, later on in the year as, a full blown launch. So you get, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. You get at least about maybe like 6 or 7 items in the box. And so for the year, it's a 1-year subscription, and it's 240. So which puts each box at $40, and everything is included. There's no additional shipping charge on it. There's no, additional taxes or whatever. It's just 240 is 240, done and done. And basically you have the entire year paid for. You get your 6 boxes of goodies. And I always like to include things like samples as well. So if I know that a subscriber hasn't tried something from previous collections, I'll tuck in some samples, things like that. And of course, love notes from me because I love to do that. And it's funny because obviously people enjoy the subscription because they enjoy tea and they love obviously snacking on the snacks and the sweets. But what has kind of, I wouldn't even say surprised me, but what has been a really pleasant thing throughout the years, even with my old business, was I would always write everybody notes, and I would address it to them personally. And let's just say that it's a new subscriber and I don't necessarily know you personally. It's more so just, all right, conversational things, right? But as I get to know people, I'll ask them, or, I'll touch base with them basically through those little, things that I call love notes. And I'll write in the notes like things that they might have mentioned on Instagram, or just talk about just life in general, because every single customer and subscriber is their own individual person. And I don't treat people like they're just the generic customer. It's like, oh, you're customer A and you're customer B, right? Everybody has a very specific relationship to me. And so when I write to them, I address them personally, and, I kind of try to, talk about relevant things, like, for that time of year, things like that. I know sometimes people will ask me like questions through Instagram, and so I'll respond to them through the notes that I write, just things like that. And the pleasant surprise has just been that people have really, really loved them. I mean, I always did it because I felt like personal correspondence and those personal touches mean a lot to people. It's like people, even nowadays, like even trying to email people sometimes seems very difficult, because it's like, oh, let me sit at my computer, let me type out this email. And it feels for a lot of people that people can't even spare the time to even do that. And so I feel like personal correspondence has in many ways just completely like gone out the window. Even having people text you through your phone even seems like such a difficult thing, because everybody is just constantly so busy. Um, and people are constantly looking at their phones, and to actually get a note, a handwritten note from somebody, it feels old school, it feels nice. And I'll be the first to say, yes, it's definitely labor intensive, because I'm actually like handwriting this, right? And I kind of split it up into batches so that my hand isn't cramping after like 20 notes. But I try my best to keep consistent with that. And to me, it doesn't matter if somebody has ordered 20 items or just 2 items. I treat everybody like I'm not going to say like they're my friend, because some people don't actually know me. So I'm not going to, try to say that, oh yeah, just because, you buy something from me that, you suddenly like, we're suddenly, know everything about each other. But I want people to know that you are an actual person to me. You're not just an order form that just came into my queue. So that's kind of my way of, just letting people know that, hey, there's an actual person on this end, and I see you as an actual person on that end, right? So, and I think that a lot of people, sometimes just need a little bit of that kind of like love. It's an uncanny thing. Sometimes I'll send somebody, their parcel, and it'll get to them right at the exact moment when they really need it. They'll be like, I got your parcel. I've been having the shittiest week, and your parcel like made my day or made my week or just something like that. And that's honestly, it's the best part about doing this. Like I feel like everybody's got kind of a purpose or a calling in this world. I think that a lot of us have multiple callings in our lifetime. And for me, tea is just kind of like the physical manifestation of how I kind of like, spread that happiness and spread that light and joy and that creativity and passion in the world. It could have been something else, but my calling was tea. And so that's what makes it so fun, because to me the tea part of it, it feels effortless. I think that if it was something else, it would be a lot more laborious and it wouldn't be as enjoyable. But that's what makes this enjoyable, because creating tea, it does feel effortless to me because it is so much fun. There's a shit ton of like grunt work that comes with like running the business, but it's like that with any business. I don't think that anybody could run a business and not have grunt work. It just comes with it. But if I could quote like one of my favorite authors, Elizabeth Gilbert, in one of my favorite books, Big Magic, she has this chapter where she talks about the shit sandwich. And, basically she's saying no matter how much you love something, there's always going to be a part of it that either is something that you don't really enjoy doing or something that you really have to like swallow, whether it's criticism or feedback, working with people that you don't like working with, or some unsavory part of your job. And basically she says, that you love something when how much are you willing to swallow that shit sandwich, right? And that just goes to show, like, you love this so much that it's just like, yeah, what, all of these parts that kind of, annoy me, or the parts that are really labor intensive, it's just like they end up being worth it because you do love the work so much. So yeah, and that's kind of the subscription boxes, they're a labor of love. I'll be the first to say that this is not, my way of making a fortune or anything, but it's a labor of love. And this is just, another extension of the business that I thought that I really wanted to reincorporate into this new business, because a lot of people had enjoyed it so much like several years back. So I wanted to give it another go, and I'm so pleased that so many people are so happy with it and that it brightens people's days. So that's pretty much the whole reason why it's so worth it to see everybody so happy. So
I love it. I absolutely I love seeing everybody open their boxes, and I have just been sitting here going, I need to talk to Deb before I like actually pounce on it. So,
yeah,
so I still have a few more questions. So if am I going to get the same box as somebody else? Like we're all going to get the same boxes, like everything's going to be the same, or is it going to be slightly different?
so all the boxes are the same, with the exception of I ask people first if there are any dietary restrictions. Because, for example, I know that some of my subscribers, they can't have dairy. So with that in mind, somebody's box might look a little bit different, because somebody might get a milk chocolate bar versus somebody who can't have dairy. So I'll be sending them like vegan gummies instead, something like that. So that variation will occur based on dietary restrictions or preferences. And also, I had mentioned I've got some amazing subscribers who they buy everything. So if I have something else that I can give them, I will. And that might then make their box look a little bit differently than somebody who hasn't tried everything. So those are pretty much the only variations. All of the accessories, everybody gets the same accessory. Everybody will get the same treats, barring any kind of dietary restrictions. And the exclusive teas, yeah, like for example, I know that I have a subscriber who can't have chocolate, and I do have one chocolate centric exclusive blend in this bi-monthly box that I'm actually about to send out next week for January, February. So for this one subscriber, she'll get something different because there's no sense in sending her chocolate tea if she can't enjoy it, So I would just pick something else for her. So those are basically the only variations and the only differences between boxes. And of course, how they're decorated on the outside, they'll look a little bit different. But yeah, those are the only differences. So yeah, everything else is the same.
And where are you shipping these? Like, is it just through Canada, or where can everybody get them?
Basically, Canada and US. I
Okay.
haven't been able to do international shipping, not because I can't, like I can definitely do it through my e-commerce platform. But the thing about international shipping is that I have no way of tracking it. There is actual like no tracking option. And then so especially like right now, even with tracking, I've been refreshing some Canada Post pages quite a bit like lately, and it's nationwide. It's even like through the US, things like that. I remember during the first wave of the pandemic, oh my goodness, customs going into like the US or even like vice versa. And I think it was because they were diverting parcels to a lot of different facilities. So you no longer saw your parcels taking the same route to certain states. And so that would take a little longer, things like that. And then now with the second wave of COVID, well, Canada Post has been having some, difficulties,
Yeah.
things like that. So it's been, both ways. Both Canada and US have had their, I guess, patches where, you wouldn't see an update for like a week and then you'd be scratching your head going, oh, where is it? And then, it would just kind of pop out the other end, just, in a matter of like 24 hours. And it's like, oh, okay. So it was kind of floating in a black hole and then all of a sudden it just reemerged. So yeah, but right now, Canada and US, and maybe in the future there I can maybe find some way of opening it up internationally. But the thing with international pricing is that you'd be paying more for the shipping than the entire value of the whole box. So, and I know that if somebody is willing to do that, that's totally fine. But it's such a, I even feel guilty even putting it on the site, knowing how much shipping costs. And it's like right now, I'm just like, I just don't really want to do that on such a large scale. I do
Yeah.
have one or two international customers that I ship to just because we've already made arrangements and I've never had any issues. Their stuff has gotten to them safely and actually in a pretty timely manner. But it's very different sending to one or two people versus opening it up to everybody and then fielding about 10 emails every single day. I haven't gotten my parcel in like a month. Where is it? And I'll be like, I got no tracking for you, because you're international, right? And it's like you don't want to have to make people, I guess, kind of chase you around for that kind of information.
Yeah.
So until there's a better option, right now it's just Canada and US. So, and I'd say funny enough, it's split kind of evenly. It's split kind of evenly between my subscribers. I've got about 50% Canadian and 50% American. So yeah, love
Oh,
from both sides.
that's amazing, because your price, 240 for the year, is Canadian, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so our US friends are getting an awesome deal with our poor dollar.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Yep.
Oh, that is amazing. So if I ordered today, what is the cutoff? Like, how do I know, like, what month would I end up getting, I guess?
Pretty much, I would say that a lot of people have asked me, can they sign up at a certain point, in the month and still get that one? Basically, I will order a little bit extra for anybody who wants to join a little bit later, but I don't have a cutoff simply because um, sometimes I will have a little bit of extra. And so if I actually have a cutoff, then I would actually be cutting off people who I could actually serve. Because sometimes when I order product, I'm not dealing with, okay, I have X amount of subscribers, so I'm only ordering this much. sometimes when I'm ordering product from the supplier, it comes in cases. And so it comes in whatever number it comes in. And so I don't have official cutoff dates, but basically I would say that, for example, if somebody were to sign up now, I might be able to squeak in maybe one or two more for January, February. Otherwise, it would have to be for the next round. So I'd say that probably I'd say the mid part of the second month is probably where I'm starting to not be able to accept any more for the current period. And then we would just have to roll over until like the second one. So for example, it would be like mid-February, or March, April would be like mid-April. And then I would be like, yep, come on board, but I'll have to start you on like, the next bi-monthly period. So yeah.
Oh, so you'll let whoever subscribes, you would let them know when to
Yeah,
expect it? That is
exactly.
amazing.
And I've
Okay.
also had subscribers email me and say, "Can I not start on this box? Can you actually start me on the next, bi-monthly box?" It's just really based on people's preferences, because I know that a lot of people, they sign up during the holidays and they're just like, "No, no, no, I don't want the holiday box. Can you start me on like January, February?" And I think it's because maybe they had gotten a bunch of gifts from people for the holidays already, and they're just like, "No, no, no, I gotta like sit down. I gotta like, just not have more stuff like coming in." And then so I've had some subscribers specifically tell me, "No, don't start me now. Start me in like the next bi-monthly period." So people have, yeah, emailed me and asked me if that was okay. And then I've also told people as well. A lot of people, they're really courteous. They'll ask me. They'll either DM me on Instagram or they'll email me, and they'll ask me, "Do you still have, this month's box, or can I sign up and you can just start me on the next month?" And then it's just really easy, like, yes, no, um, we'll make arrangements, things like that, right? So yeah. And normally what I do for a lot of subscribers is that when they have just orders, I combine them so that they're kind of getting like, an order and their subscription box at the same time, simply because sometimes, if I'm sending out their subscription boxes, kind of like, within the next like, few weeks or whatever, it just makes it a lot easier for me to package it all up at once. Obviously, if it's okay with them. Some people are like, "No, there's just like, a few items. I'll just, pay for the shipping or whatever." And other times I just combine it with their subscription box so they get whatever they're ordering with their subscription box as well. And also, oh, this another thing that I forgot to mention is that subscribers also get, for the year that they're subscribed, they get 25% off of basically all their orders. So I do have a specific discount code for subscribers, but the thing with the e-commerce platform is that you can only use one discount code at a time. So you're either basically choosing between free shipping or the 25% off discount. I'm like, no, no, no. I'm like, you honor your word, right? If you're going to offer free shipping with X amount of purchase and, your 25% off discount, you want to be able to honor both of those discounts. So usually I have subscribers, they'll email me their orders and then I will input them on the back end from me, because it's easier for me to be able to manage that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's just mostly just people just sending me DMs on Instagram or just giving me an email just so I can do all that kind of magical stuff. It's like, knocking off shipping, giving them the discounts, making sure they get their bonus offers, whichever ones that they that are applicable for that particular week, things like that. Just so I know that people are getting their money's worth, right? So yeah.
So you are completely okay if somebody was like, "Oh, can you add ABC to my subscription box whenever it comes out?" You're completely fine with that? You
Yeah,
accept that? Oh, that's
absolutely.
wonderful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I just invoice people kind of like separately, and it just makes it just a lot easier that way. That way, somebody, if it is, one thing that they want, then they're not just getting like, one dinky thing in the mail, and it's just like, we'll combine it with the subscription box and everything. So yeah, all kinds of arrangements. It's yeah, no big deal at all. So yeah.
And recently you launched some different tea wares, which are so cheery and bright and colorful. And
Yeah,
of course, your tins, which we can see in behind you there. Those are
yeah,
so beautiful, so adorable. I just love it.
yeah. So yeah, this guy over here, I have like a selection of them. Like I for my tea table, I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna like pack a bunch of like my personal favorites. But there's still a bunch that I haven't like done and everything like that. But yeah, like these are my little like tins and everything. I'm just like, yeah, for my babies. So
I love them. I also love that they're square. I find that so many tea companies do the round ones and they take up so much space. And I'm always looking at all that extra space that could be. So the square, I appreciate the squareness of your tins as well.
I just like this where first how they look and also just even designing the labels. It's just a lot
Oh
easier.
yeah.
It's a lot easier for me. I mean, I know that like labels are you could do like a rectangular label around a circle tin, yes. But I'm like, no, I just like the look. Just like the look of it. Yeah.
That's nice. It's very beautiful. So,
Yeah.
is there anything that you would love to share with everybody that we
Oh,
haven't
okay.
covered?
Let's see here. Okay, first off, I love everyone. So like, I I can't tell you how many of your YouTube viewers and subscribers have come to me and said, I found your through Jan's YouTube channel. And like, even not just, I wouldn't even say through a specific part of the year. It's basically been like last year, this month, like all different parts of the year. So, first off, thank you so much. Just not even thank you to everybody who has watched your YouTube channel and like bothered to even check out my stuff, but thank you to you for even doing all of those videos, all the different ones that you've done on my stuff. The one where you did like basically where you drank all of my tea for like a day and did like a video vlog on that. That was epic. That was epic. So first, thank you so much to just everybody. I mean, uh, starting this business, I think that people have this, I don't want to say mistaken idea, but it's one of those things where it's not that when you put stuff out, people will come. It's one of those things where it takes a lot of time to actually find your people, right?
Yeah.
You don't want just anybody having your product. You want the people who genuinely love your stuff and the people who you can actually have that kind of relationship with, right? You're not here for everybody. You're here for a very specific group of tea lovers, right? So that's the one thing that I will say is that when you know exactly the people that you want to serve, it makes it that much more better because you know that you're making them happy and you know how to make them happy because they'll let you know. I mean, like I have customers who will email me and say to me, do you think that you could make this or have you considered this flavor combination, things like that. So it's been so rewarding even to have people just email me just to ask questions like that because it genuinely means that they're just interested in more stuff and that's always a good thing. So yeah, first thank you so much. And I would just say that there's no such thing as too much tea, like ever. Like I like even though like I'm like surrounded by it like day in and day out, it never gets boring to me. And I think that that just speaks to just how much like I think our community and this industry, how much it can grow. It's so much more than just something that we drink, and there's just so much that you can do with it. And I feel like we're only just kind of scraping the surface of how we can connect with each other with tea, the stories that we can tell, how we can uplift each other through tea, and not even through just drinking it, but through all of the different ways, all the different touch points for inspiration. We talk about mental health. We talk about our culinary adventures. Baking with it, we talk about, I know not now because of COVID, but we talk about our travels, for tea, our professional lives, whether it's business or just entrepreneurial stuff. So there's just so many ways to kind of if I can use a pun, infuse our lives with tea. And it's so rewarding. It's so rewarding. And I don't think that there's ever such thing as too much tea or too much love surrounding it. And it's just, the sky's the limit. There's just so much possibility. And if I could definitely leave people with something, it would be that there is just no end in sight for the amount of fun that we can have with tea, and yeah, how much we can grow with it. So yeah, sky is the limit, endless possibility for everything.
I love that so much, so much. So I have like so many more questions for you, but I think we're going to cut it here. Would it be possible to have like a part two with Deb in the future?
Absolutely, we can have part two, part three. We can have like an entire series. We can do it all. So yeah.
I love it so much because I know that you traveled and I have so many questions about that. So, yes, part two, we're going to dive into your travels and everything else. I can't
Yeah,
wait.
yeah.
So, yes. All right. Well, I'm going to let you go. I need to search about ordering. And thank you so much. I so appreciate this. This was wonderful.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you so much for even having me on.